in terms of our spotlight presentation today. We have Arden Sokolow. She's our EVP for Real Estate Development and Planning, and she's going to give us an update on all the exciting projects that her and her team are working on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, directors. This is a pleasure to be here to talk about the work. I've had the privilege of leading the real estate team for 3 years now. During that time, both the workload and the staff have grown significantly, and it's incredibly exciting. The portfolio, I've worked a lot of places, and I can tell you that this portfolio and ESD's processes are unique and, quite frankly, amazing. So let's dig in a little. So what do we do here in ESD Real Estate? Our goals of our project is to generate jobs, community amenities, housing and economic opportunities. And we largely do that because the state has a significant number of properties that are underutilized or are located in places that it feels like development is important to do in order to be transformative. So ESD Real Estate transitions the properties from government ownership to one that meets the needs of communities, and that's our primary role. The work is largely governed by the UDC Act, which uses 4 tools to spur development. Quite frankly, I call them my superpowers, our superpowers, because they are amazing. So the first is ESD is empowered to acquire and encumber and dispose of real property, including using eminent domain. We're one of the few agencies that can do this disposition for less than fair market value and not through an auction. And so that ability allows us to do things like increase affordability, increase open space. We can tap the value of these properties to attain other benefits. ESD property is exempt from taxes, and sometimes we use that power to generate pilots for projects as a form of a tax exemption to make projects financially feasible. We can override local zoning. We do that by creating our own design guidelines to govern the project, and we can issue bonds for projects at times. So these are the superpowers. We've been using them we're currently working on about 30 active projects. We have, and we own about 140 properties. So these are some of the previous ESD projects that you all might be familiar with, and if not, I definitely encourage you to go get familiar with them because they're amazing. Moynihan Station, which was completed on January 1st, 2021, an example of a remarkable public-private partnership that converted a post office into a world-class transportation hub. The Java Center expansion, which expanded the convention center by 2 blocks and increased meeting space, ballrooms, and a whole host of things. And UBS Arena, which became the home of the Islanders and generated thousands of jobs.
Did we just oversee all the development, all those projects, or we don't own those, right?
We do.
We own them as well?
Mm-hmm.
The Moynihan Station is beautiful.
Thank you. We're very proud of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait. I want to say one thing about this. These are the projects that everybody used to associate with ESD. In fact, I associated with ESD. And when I interviewed for this job with our commissioner, I was concerned that my background in housing development would not align with developing hockey arenas or train halls. But Hope said, no. I promise you, more housing is coming. The focus on housing is going to come, and it's going to come quick. And woo, boy, was she right, because this is what happened. The governor intensely focused on housing, and for good reason. Over the last 10 years, New York has created 1.2 million jobs, but only 400,000 housing units. And that has translated into things like New York City's lowest vacancy rate in years at 1.4%. Rents that in New York City that have increased by 30%, home ownership prices that have increased by 50%, and statewide those trends, in many places, those trends are aligned with what's happening in New York City. And so the governor has focused on housing intensely in a variety of ways and through a variety of agencies. But there's 2 specific ways that she has used ESD to focus on housing. She has issued Executive Order 30, which instructs all state agencies to review their sites and their inventory and determine what could be used for housing, and then to collaborate on the disposition of those in order to create housing. And the reason that impacts us more so than other agencies is because, as I mentioned, we're one of the few agencies that can then do the disposition. So if OMH or state DOT is looking at a parking lot, usually we have to do the disposition. They aren't going to do the disposition themselves. So the second, but then she also put her money where her mouth is. They created a $500 million fund, recognizing that these state sites have a supermax prison on them, or a crumbling psychiatric center campus on them, and don't have roads and don't have infrastructure. And she created a $500 million fund in last year's budget to address those infrastructure needs and enable those sites to become shovel-ready for housing. So in the last few years, the real estate department became primarily focused on housing.
And how's the Rush program going? Is it, are we getting a lot of interest in it?
Oh, yeah. So it's not a program that's open to the public. It's state agencies come to us. So we have an interagency working group where we review projects, and we now have we have more than $500 million of projects that are in the pipeline.
Wow.
We have about 420 million preliminarily approved, and we have a robust pipeline after that. And the primary users of it are our sites, the MTA sites, and now we're starting to talk with SUNY about their sites as well.
Oh, great.
Okay. So here's just quickly, some examples of some of the housing RFPs that have gone through Bayview, which has come to this board already and was approved. We're now just working with our sister agency, HCR, to move that towards closing. 1024 Fulton, which is a 100% affordable RFP that is in the midst of procurement. Wasaic, which would probably be a mixed income project, is in the middle of procurement, as well as Intrepid, which is a mixed income project on the west side of Manhattan that is mid-procurement. So that hasn't come to this board yet, but hopefully it will.
And where is the Bayview and the Wasaic sites?
Where are they?
Yeah, is Bayview in Bayview, Queens?
Bayview is in Chelsea.
Chelsea. And then where's Wasaic?
That's a great question. Okay.
Is that, in New York City, or is it
Yeah.
Lower Hudson Valley?
It's in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So those are some RFPs. In addition to the work like this, we're doing other work to support housing. We've recently approved a new development team for the Atlantic Yards project in Brooklyn. We continue to work with the developers surrounding Penn Station that are part of the Penn GPP to develop their sites as housing. So we continue to do other work in addition to these RFPs.
How many housing units within those four?
That is a great question.
I mean, is it thousands? What are we talking?
Let me get back to you on the
I was
exact
just
one.
wondering.
Well, Intrepid's probably, it will likely be over 1,000. Fulton and Bayview are in the 100 plus, low 100, 100 plus. And Wasaic is a big site. We're only really looking at the first phase, but will probably be hundreds of units.
So close to 2,000. Mm-hmm.
Do you have to work with the city to get permits and all of that? And
We do.
So how long does it take you to get through all of this?
When we do these RFPs, well, generally our development partners do the work with the Department of Buildings. It is not as fast as it should be. We do our best to facilitate that and make it go faster, and we do collaborate with the city. When we work with the City of New York, it's a more predictable timeline. When we work with other localities, sometimes that timeline is a little less predictable as we work with their building departments, et cetera.
So how long would it take for a project to be
To
completed?
start from when we issue let's say an RFP process takes about a year from when we issue it to designation. And then a GPP, let's call it 2 years. Sometimes and it's 2 years till it can close. So 3 years would be the minimum on more complex projects. Sometimes that it'll, like a project like Site K, which we'll talk about in a minute, is probably 5 years from when we start until they have their permits and can start to put a shovel in the ground.
And some projects, like maybe these, the developer that ESD selects, They have to go get the approvals, and then some projects we take control of, and we override local zoning, and we issue.
We don't usually issue the permits, right? Even in places like,
Come up with
right, in,
guidelines.
in Bayview, the developer's gonna work with, New York City on pulling those permits. We did override zone there, though.
Got it.
Okay, so let's go into some projects. Javits Site K is a project that was designated, an RFP was issued in 2023, but this was not the first time an RFP had been issued. This site had originally been proposed under the previous governor as a commercial site, but given the increased focus on housing, and to the credit of the local community for pushing for housing for this site, we reissued it in the fall of 23. We designated it about a year later. A team of BXP, Boston Properties, BRP, and a minority developer, and Moynihan Group, a developer that's developed on the west side significantly. This site brings improved streetscape that will lead new streets up to the Javits Center. There's a 455 key hotel proposed there, the Climate Science Museum, and as well as 30% of the units as affordable.
And it's still in the pre-development stage. When do we expect construction to begin?
That's the one I was thinking is 5 years from the beginning, so let's say another 3.5, 4 years.
And is it like right in front of the Javits Center?
So I'm 35th and 11th.
And it was, what, a parking lot?
Nope, that's the other one. If you go south of Javits Center, that one's a parking lot. It's,
What was this site, just underutilized, like
Yes.
low-rise industrial or something?
nope, nothing on it.
Oh, it was,
It has some MTA access points in it.
we owned it?
The CCDC, which is the Convention Center Development Corporation, a subsidiary of ESD, owns it.
Got it.
Brooklyn Development Center. This was a part of the 2017 Vital Brooklyn Initiative to address health inequities in Brooklyn. It's a 27-acre site that was state-owned. ESD put out an RFP in partnership with HDR. They're going to create, when it's completed, and it's several phases, they're going to complete about 2,400 units. The first phase is about 560 units, which will be completed in 2027. It's a development team made up of L&M and an Apex Building Group, a minority developer.
And what part of Brooklyn is that?
East New York. And they're also partnering on some of the supportive housing and other components of it with a group called Riseboro Community Partnership and Services for the Underserved. And it will feature a healthcare facility operated by One Brooklyn Health. It's also based on the Blue Zone thing where, it has improved access to healthy foods and other healthy access points. Okay. Creedmoor, which you actually are going to hear about because it's coming to the board today. We're very proud about this, and I wanted to talk to you about this a little bit because it gets to what Kevin asked. Most of our projects we do as an RFP. We get a development partner. They largely shape the plan. We work with them on the plan, and then they take it through development. On these larger sites, what we've learned is that might not be the best way to ensure that you're using these kind of unique and valuable properties to achieve the amenities the community wants. Also, we've learned sort of painfully that sometimes on these big sites, if you hire a master developer, and the master developer, for whatever reason, can't pull it off, you have one developer that you are sort of working it through. If we do the entitlements and the planning and bring it through the GPP process first, then we can break it up into smaller pieces, which will allow us to develop this entire site with different developers and who bring different capacities and different expertise. And so that's why I wanted to bring this to you, because it's just a different model. We're incredibly proud of the process we used. We had extensive community engagement. I mean, incredibly extensive, that I think is a model for how we want to do these large projects moving forward, where hundreds of people came to our virtual and our in-person workshops and helped us create this vision. And this vision is over 2,000 units, 10 acres of open space, community facility, retail uses, 2,400 parking spaces, and potential new school. We're very excited about what's to come here.
And here, ESD is the master developer?
We did the master plan. We intend to put out an RFP in the coming months for the first phase of it.
Right, and we could do an RFP for each phase.
That's
So
the
we could sort of be quarterbacking 5 or 6 different developers throughout the phases here.
Yes.
And is this the first time we were the master planner, master developer for a big site?
First time since I've been here, but that's not that long. I think there probably have been other examples of it, but not recently. More recently, it's been RFP and developer driven.
Right.
I just want to note one last thing before I leave this. 1,000 units of this are going to be homeownership here.
Oh, that's good.
That's awesome.
It represents the largest homeownership opportunity in over 70 years in Queens.
That's great.
That's really good.
You know, in over 70 years, where statewide or
In Queens.
in Queens?
Okay, just because, we should talk about something other than housing every now and then, I wanted to note, to note this. In 2022, Governor Hochul convened the Prison Redevelopment Commission. ESD facilitated it in conjunction with DOCS and OGS to create a strategy for the disposition of prisons, of which we have many, 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 many prisons that have been closed due to the good news, the prison population declining. But bad news in that, when these close, there's a tremendous loss of jobs and economic activity for the locality. So the Prison Redevelopment Commission established a process for how we would dispose of this. And sometimes we try to do it ourselves. On some prisons, we'll issue an RFP and do the disposition. But another model that was important and came out of the Prison Redevelopment Commission is a partnership with the locality on these. And so this one, the local IDA, the Livingston County IDA, was very proactive in wanting to create a business park. It's going to be called the Livingston Commerce Center. And they've already started negotiating several leases with businesses to come to this site. So our role here was largely disposition. They're taking the lead, and we're very proud of where they're going with this. It's showing great progress. So that's it. That's what I have for you.
That's great. Quite ahead. So I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, but I have a couple more because it's so interesting. First, it's funny, and Hope was so right when she told you that, because when I first got here, I was like, ESD, we don't do housing. And it seems like we're like one of the major entities in the state doing it. I assume we partner with HCR on a lot of things as well?
We do. On the affordable projects, on the mixed income ones, that's not usually HCR's focus. So, but on our affordable ones like Bayview, we are partnering with them.
And if we ever override local zoning, do we have to have ownership of the site, or can you override local zoning for a private developer?
That's a good question. We have overridden zoning without ownership. What we can't do is issue real estate pilot if we don't have an ownership piece of it.
And that's funny, because that was my next question. When we do own and we're exempt from taxes, do we often or sometimes enter into pilot agreements to help the local municipality with any impacts the development might have on services there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we do. I mean, part of that, Rush is trying to play a part of that, addressing infrastructure needs. But yeah, we try to work with the locality to mitigate impact.
And can ESD approve the pilots, or do we need to go through an IDA?
We can approve the pilots. We usually work in collaboration with the locality.
Got it. And I'm sorry to hog. And bonds, so we could issue bonds for either our own projects.
I'm gonna make Ray answer that question.
And sometimes we could issue bonds for private projects. And does it have to be some significant affordable requirement for us to issue bonds for a private project, or?
We rarely issue bonds for private projects.
Yeah, we can, but we rarely do.
It's not a business line we're in. For
Got
the
it.
most part, the state appropriations fund large projects. A lot of the Rush money that Arden's been talking about is direct state appropriation. The issue is how do you pay it back and with what and on what time frame? And so someone would have to believe that all of your projections were perfect, right, to finance to agree to loan us the money. It's not a typical activity we engage in.
Got it.
Yeah.
And last question, Art, how big is the team now, the real estate team approximately? How many?
It's 30. When I got here 3 years ago, it was 12.
Wow. And it's a mix of
We
real
had-
estate professionals, attorneys,
Oh, that doesn't even include Joshua's team of attorneys,
Oh,
the
okay,
30. The
just-
30. The team is made up of a few components. We have a design and construction team. We have an environmental review team. We have a community relations team. We have the project management team, and we have the asset management team.
you're like a full-blown real estate development company. No, it's very impressive. Well done. I'm sorry, guys, I hogged most of the questions. Who else? Anybody else have any questions? Well, Arden, great job, you and your team, very impressive. Look forward. You doing the Creedmoor presentation later or something?
Bob from my team will be here.
He'll be here later. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Arden.